Uh, Welcome, everybody. It's great to see this turnout. My name is Jeff Oviatt. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Lake County, and we are happy to be moderating this candidate forum here today in Mentor-on-the-Lake. I'd like to introduce my timers, Marian Lupinski and Phyllis Wilcox, and thank you to the Mentor Library System for hosting the event. By the way, the school board race will be done in Mentor on Thursday at 7 o'clock at the main branch on Mentor Avenue. That will be the school board candidate and issues. Okay, could we stand and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the rules. Each candidate will have 3 minutes speaking time, and there'll be 2 minutes for rebuttal. The speaking order has been determined by a draw of cards. So for Mayor, Mr. Morris will be going first. For Council Ward 1, Mr. Chabot. And for Council Ward 2, Mr. Gray will be speaking first. So the first person speaks, and then the opposing candidate has a chance to rebut for 2 minutes. And the League of Women Voters timers then will hold up a card when there's 30 seconds left, and a card when the time is up. And we ask that the candidates then stop talking. Okay, so question and answer. Beth Hutton already talked about the box. We pass out some cards. We'll have those available, and we will be randomly choosing cards out of there to ask questions later on. The candidates will have, I believe, 2 minutes to answer those questions, each one. Okay, so let's see. We have, first, before we get to the candidates, we're going to have Mayor Eva talk about some issues, and he has 3 minutes to talk about each issue. So you want to go ahead?
I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Moore and Rob Johnson, our president and vice president of the council, that are going to cover the issues.
Okay. Speaking to this.
All right. Good evening. I am Michelle Moore. I am one of your council representatives at large, and I am also the vice president of council this year. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's great to see so many people here with such an interest in our community and the future and what it has in store for us. Tonight, we'd like to talk a little bit about the 4 levies that are on the ballot this fall. The first issue, which is issue 5, is a park and recreation levy. This is a 0.75 mil levy, which would cost the taxpayer $26 per $100,000 of valuation, and this is proposed for 15 years. The funds from this levy would be used for revetment and erosion control at the Mentor-on-the-Lake Overlook Beach Park, which we know is something that everybody has been asking for years. What can we do about the park? We have brought preliminary engineering renderings for you to see tonight. The engineering preliminary estimate of this project is approximately $1.2 million. Again, this is just the estimate. We asked them to put that together. Excuse me, dry throat. We asked them to put that together so that we would have something to present to the public to answer some of these questions. Council, when they heard that number, decided that it would be best to put this out to the public for a vote for the community to weigh in on should we invest a large sum of money into saving the park. Should this project come to fruition, this will go out to bid, and we will look at who is going to give us the best design, engineering, and implementation of the project for the best cost. If for some reason we get somebody who comes in through the bidding process that is lower than that, we would obviously go with that rate, and then we would be able to adjust the length of the we could pay it off sooner, and then we would be able to adjust maybe the years that we have to have that levy assessed to the taxpayers. So what can we do with this levy? We're going to create safe use of our park. There would be walking and viewing areas, as you can see from the renderings. A beach area would be created, and this would protect the shoreline, increasing the park's longevity for future generations' use and enjoyment. Next, we'll turn to issues 6, 7, and 8. These are all renewal levies of charter amendments that were passed back in November of 2014. The charter amendments were proposed changes to the Mentor on the Lake Charter. The first one, which was 1.1 mil, was to assist the fire department in costs. This levy costs $38.50 per $100,000 of valuation. With this levy, we've been able to keep staffing levels at a stable level, and the fire department has transitioned to 24/48 staffing to ensure that there's a firefighter paramedic on duty 24 hours a day for the community. Issue 7, which is the renewal of the 1.5 mil police department levy, is $52.50 per $100,000 of valuation. With this levy, our police force is now fully staffed, and we've been able to keep the dispatch in-house at our Mentor on the Lake Police Department. So when you call in, you go right to a dispatcher at City Hall instead of going to Central Dispatch, which is located in South Mentor. Issues 6 and 7 have ensured the residents of Mentor on the Lake have stable, reliable safety forces. The continued funding will allow staffing to remain at current levels, provide and maintain needed equipment, continue training for staff, and meet the needs of the community with quality police, fire, and EMS services. Our last issue, issue 8, is the renewal of a 1.2 mil levy for road construction and repair. This would cost $42 per $100,000 of valuation. With this, Mentor on the Lake has been able to partner with Mentor to maximize the road levy funds. We are getting better rates, which leads to increased road project repairs yearly. With this, we provide safe, quality road surfaces, and it increases the longevity of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Let me just clarify that each candidate gets 3 minutes to speak, and then they also get, each candidate gets 2-minute rebuttal. So we're going to do the mayor first, and as I said, the draw was that Mr. Morris will have the first speech. You can either stay there or come up here, whichever you.
Good evening, and thank you for coming. My name is Paul Morris. First of all, I'm a retired firefighter paramedic from the city of Mentor on the Lake with 38 years of service. I spent the last 8 years on city council, sometimes agreeing with council and sometimes not. And some of the things that just came up a little bit I'd like to talk about as far as like taxes go. Recently, we were confronted with the idea of hiring another full-time firefighter. Let me tell you what that has done to us. It has locked us in to the point where we're never going to get away from those charter amendments. Never. That's not what council intended with those when those were first voted on. The intent was that those would be a kind of a bridge until we could find additional funding. Well, it doesn't look like it's coming, but all we keep doing is adding to that base. Inside the full-timers contract is a clause that says before the city can lay off any of the full-time people, they must first lay off all the part-time people. That means if we have to get into a financial crunch, which I ask council not to vote for that, wait until the charter amendments pass or not, then we can move forward. But no, they decided we want to hire them now, so we're stuck. The second thing is transparency of government. I have looked at a lot of cities' websites, and I've seen a lot of them that are a hell of a lot more transparent than ours. I've seen some in which you can actually look at the city's checkbook, see how much money was paid for stuff, what date, and to whom, including paychecks. I think that would be excellent. I'd also like to use current technology to improve communication with our residents. Currently, we're supposed to be on YouTube. If you've ever looked at the YouTube channel for our videos and audio, good luck. I think you'd be better off plugging your ears and wishing for the best of lip reading. I think there's better technology to do that with. The other thing I'd like to do is attract more businesses. We have a nice corridor down here in which to attract businesses, but no, we're going to get apparently a housing project down here where Jim Yeager's property used to be. I'm opposed to that. I know some of the other council members are opposed to it, but some of them work pretty dang hard to make that a reality. I'm opposed to all of that. That should be a commercial area. Our president of council, Mr. Rob Johnson, worked hard to get our zoning straightened out, and all we did is turn around and ignore it. I also think we need a comprehensive plan for this city. The one thing I found out in researching the idea of a comprehensive plan was without one, you don't get any large grants, none. I actually talked to a few people in different governments that said in order to get the big dollar grants, like the $1 million grants, you have to have a comprehensive plan. You have to show how that ties into your plan. An example of that is Fairport, I believe, just got a nice multi-million-dollar grant to redo some of their streets. Why can't we do that? So that's what I stand for. Thank you.
I'm Dave Eva, the current mayor here in Mentor on the Lake. Thank you, Kaylee and Cheryl from the Mentor Public Library and the Lake County League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's important our residents have enough information to make decisions on who will lead our city government. As a resident of Mentor on the Lake for 46 years, I have been involved in city government for the past 20 years. 9 years on city council with leadership positions as vice president and president of City Council during those years. As president of City Council in 2012, I was appointed Mayor Safety Director when then Mayor John Rogers was elected to the state representative position. I have served as mayor for the last 11 years. As a graduate of Bowling Green State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, I have worked in the banking industry for the last 35 years. My work experiences include financial analysis, budgeting, project management, and process improvement, which are skills needed to manage and lead an effective city government. You will find me involved in many city events throughout the year. I have participated in events held by the fire and police departments and also events held at Lake Elementary. I have been a member of the Lake Geauga County Fraternal Order of Police Associates of Ohio, Lodge A25, for the last 9 years. I was president of the McMinn Baseball League for several years and volunteered for other positions with the league when my children participated in the baseball league. I was recently honored by the Mentor High School Alumni Association. In April of 2023, I was inducted into the Mentor High School Alumni Hall of Fame for my service to the Mentor on Lake community. With a proven track record of effective leadership and a genuine dedication to taking care of our residents, I look forward to serving the Mentor on Lake community for another 4 years. If elected to another term, projects I would like to see finished include a Dollar General at the vacant St. Andrew's Church, 30 townhouses at the corner of Andrews and Lakeshore, and the remodeling and opening of Chipotle at the vacant Burger King restaurant. I've established a great working relationship with each of these developers and look forward to bringing more jobs and more residents to our city to increase our tax revenue. My hope would be the additional tax revenue could reduce the tax burden on our residents. The Southland Drive Storm Sewer Project will get approval in early 2024. With no interest loans and grant dollars, this project would start and finish in 2024. This follows other completed infrastructure improvements made during my time as mayor to improve the stormwater drainage throughout the city. We will continue with these infrastructure improvements, addressing those streets in need of storm sewer upgrades. Safety will continue to be a top priority in my administration. It's important we have the proper equipment. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Morris, would you like to rebut? Okay, I guess we'll move on to the Council Ward 1. Mr. Chabu has the first speech.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. My name is David Shabu, and I've been a resident of Mentor-on-the-Lake for over 40 years. I am running for councilman for Mentor-on-the-Lake in Ward 1. I have been endorsed by former state representative John Rogers and Mayor Dave Eva. And I have been on council for over 8 years. In that time, I have made it a priority to update the city ordinances. I have worked on planning and zoning, approving applications for those residents that have some remodeling done and needed zoning variances. I have been a part of the approval of the plans presented for some new businesses here in the city. I have been involved with the recreational department and programs including the Fall Festival, the Christmas lighting program, Trunk or Treat, among others. I have worked with the mayor, Dave Eva, and council in increasing the city annual budget surplus from $400,000 to $1 million. This allows the city to have a cash flow into the new year and have funds for any unexpected expenses for any of our departments, police, fire, or service. I support the upcoming charter amendments on the ballots that are renewals, and they will allow us to maintain the standard of excellence we now have within those departments. I am supporting the levy for the Lake Overlook Park to save it from erosion from Lake Erie. The council has additional issues that are coming up shortly that need to be addressed, and I would like to be a part of it. We have a garbage collection contract negotiation. We have efforts to save Lake Overlook Park, and we need to keep updating our equipment with the police, fire, and service departments. These issues are very important to me. And I also believe that we are responsible to respond to citizens when they have concerns and requests. You'll find when they contact me, I'm out there right away speaking to them, trying to determine what the situation is, and then taking that to the city employees to resolve the matter. Thank you.
Ms. Wong?
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us all here tonight. I'm happy to be here. My name is Virginia Wong, though I'm known to neighbors and colleagues by my nickname, Jeannie. I've lived in Northeast Ohio for 28 years and in Mentor-on-the-Lake since 2015. While I have no prior experience in elected office, I've always been active in my local community. For example, while living in Cleveland Heights, I participated in a robust citizens' response to neighborhood violence by partnering with City Hall and the police department. Here, I've worked on our Community Development Committee and attended regular council meetings during the last 2 years. Why am I here? I want to provide stronger representation for Ward 1 residents. I'd like to expand outreach beyond just a couple of streets, allowing a broader range of ideas to be brought to city matters. Residents should expect their representative to be visible and available for expressing concerns and for providing suggestions. They should also expect invitations to participate in opportunities to serve their community. I also want to improve communication between residents and city government. Better website and electronic communication is needed, as well as opportunities for meaningful face-to-face interaction with city officials. Good communication builds trust, will improve the relationship with government and transparency of its actions. Further, I support the advancement of a strong city identity, one that is distinct from the city of Mentor. This includes public display of our pride in our beautiful lakefront location. After all, it's in our name. It's what we love most about living in Mentor on the lake. High priority should be placed on the adoption of a comprehensive municipal plan to help guide future commercial development and architectural design along our business corridor, as well as priority on preserving, not eliminating, access to the water and the lake itself at Overlook Park. That is why I'm here. Why should you vote for me? I recently retired from my practice as a University Hospital's physician and surgeon. I've spent my professional life dedicated to the welfare and advocacy of patients and their families, the support of my colleagues in healthcare, and training the next generation of surgeons. I have strong communication and organization skills. I have extensive experience working on teams with varied backgrounds, all striving toward a common goal. I believe in honesty, integrity, and fairness in everything. I believe trust and respect must be earned. I will bring these values, dedication, and experience to provide a fresh voice on council, one which can contribute to achievement of our city's goals. In closing, I look forward to building new relationships with members of city government and all Mentor on the Lake neighbors as we work toward a future of growth and strong identity in our lakefront community. I hope you agree and will remember to go strong for Wong in November.
Mr. Chabu, would you like to do a rebuttal? Oh. Okay, let's move to Ward 2 then, and the draw was won by Mr. Gray.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I am Skip Andrew Gray, a veteran of the U.S. Army. I've always been passionate about serving my country. I would like the opportunity to serve my community. I have lived here 18 years. And raising my son, Casey, a junior at Mentor High School, in this community with my wife, Michelle, of 20 years. I have been an avid participant in my son's education and community by serving on the Lake Elementary PTA, coaching on the Shore Middle School Science Olympiad team, and most recently, judging, speech and debate, and volunteering also for Mentor Mannheim Orchestra. I'm a hard-working, blue-collar worker who spent 30 years of working in the landscape industry. Should I be elected, 3 specific areas I would like to change, address, improve, and further research. Fiscal responsibility. I would make sure our council administration are responsible for spending taxpayers' dollars without having to seek an increase in property taxes from our residents. I would take a look at the city's current budget line by line, make sure that the allocated funds align with current charter and levies. I would check to see that each department is fiscally responsible. City employees paid for a job. They're actually certified and elected and qualified to perform aligned with current state ordinances and our charters. A strong fiscal budget is needed. Vision for the future is needed to protect and nurture our city. I would do the work, research, to help determine what grants are available for the city of Mentor Lake. I'm not afraid to do research, and I will ask the right questions. Community involvement. Having attended city council committees, meetings, commission meetings for many, many years. I know how important community involvement is in our city. It would take every opportunity to listen to every resident's needs and wants and express them to our council administration. I want to foster an environment where a community can feel like they can be involved in our city's development and decisions. I want to bring a feeling of community back to the city of Mentor on the Lake, where voices can be heard. Future economic growth and development. We need strong community vision. Having attended 2 years of community development committee meetings, I would like the opportunity as a councilman to further expand our community public-private partnership to grow, develop our city businesses, housing, leisure, and entertainment. Our community should be able to voice their aspirations and desires for what they envision for our city for the future. And as a council person, I should be listening to what our residents want for our community. With a strong community vision and involvement, we can see economic growth and development that affects all for our community. Thank you.
Mr. Moon? No, thank you. Anybody else like a rebuttal? No? Well, no, you haven't spoken yet. First time you. Okay, come on up.
I really like Jeannie's speech. I think I may have accidentally hired the same person to write mine. Okay, hi everyone. My name's Jason Moon, and I'm honored to be here to discuss my candidacy for the Ward 2 Council position. Over the last 5 years here in Mentor-on-the-Lake, I've had the privilege of getting to know this beautiful and charming city. And today I want to share with you why I'm an excellent candidate to represent Ward 2 effectively. I've spent years working closely with individuals from diverse backgrounds and have always strived to understand their unique needs and perspectives. This experience has equipped me with the skills to be a strong advocate for Ward 2, ensuring that your voices are heard. But representation isn't just about speaking for the people, it's also about listening to your ideas and concerns. I firmly believe the best solutions come from collaboration and open dialogue. I'm committed to being a council member who actively seeks input from our residents and is open to new ideas. Sound judgment and integrity are paramount in public service, and I pledge to uphold these principles at all times. I will make decisions based on what is right for the citizens of Mentor-on-the-Lake, free from personal bias or outside influences. You can trust that I will always act with honesty and integrity, holding myself to the highest ethical standards. As an active CPA, I already follow the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct, which binds me to act with integrity, objectivity, and due care. I will assess each issue on its merits, considering the facts and circumstances before any decision is made. And I will ensure that our city's best interests are always at the forefront of the decision-making process. Strategic thinking is crucial in the management and continuous improvement of our community. I have a track record of developing and implementing successful strategies for my clients as a practicing CPA, and I'm ready to apply these skills as your Ward 2 counselor. In today's ever-changing world, quick adaptation is essential, and I'm committed to ensuring that I'm informed about emerging issues and adjusting our approach as needed to best serve our community. I believe my background in accounting and taxation is a valuable asset. Managing our local finances and ensuring that our tax dollars are used efficiently is something I take seriously. I will work to ensure that our resources are allocated wisely and that we all receive the services we've come to expect and deserve. In conclusion, I stand before you as a candidate who possesses the skills and qualities necessary to represent Ward 2. I'm dedicated to being a council member who listens and collaborates and acts with integrity, always keeping the best interests of our community at heart. Together we can maintain and improve this magnificent city. Thank you. I humbly ask for your support in this upcoming election.
Mr. Gray, would you like to rebut? No? Okay, so now we are going to take questions. Beth is coming around with the box, or getting the box. And okay, so candidates will have 3 minutes, 2 minutes each to answer the questions that I will pick. Okay, this is a question for Mayor Eva. After all the concern you have shown over the, quote, unsightly abandoned boats and dysfunctional buildings on the Crane property, why do you still allow the city dumping ground next to Blystone's business to exist?
The boats to get those removed, and the developer, once that property transfers, all of that will go away.
Did you?
Oh, next to Blystone's we're talking. That's city
Next to
property.
Blystone's business, yeah.
Okay, what was the question again?
After all the concern you have shown over the unsightly, quote-unquote, abandoned boats and dysfunctional buildings on the Crane property, why do you still allow the, quote, city dumping ground, close quote, next to the Blystone business to exist?
Okay, that is city property, and we've looked at other places, spaces in the city to put our waste, our dirt, and things like that. And that's the only viable solution to where we can, put leftover bricks or dirt or anything like that. So that is city property there.
Mr. Morris, would you like to respond to that question?
Yes, I would. First of all, we have several businesses in our city, including Blystone Chandlery. There are viable working businesses. Blystones, for example, have customers come from all over the area, not just Ohio, but Pennsylvania, some from Canada, Michigan, to go shopping at their store. They have asked for that property multiple times, and I've tried to get council to look at it and was met with resistance because the same thing Mayor Eva just said. I do believe we have other areas available to us, including behind the service garage, so that we could take that area and let that business flourish. We don't need to strap them and keep them here. The same thing would go, say, for example, Mayor Eva had commented about Chipotle moving in. We have another business in our city that wanted that building. They've asked for years. That's Marco's Pizza. They wanted it because they're out of space. And folks, they generate a lot of money to give to our community. They support our community a lot. So why aren't we supporting them as well? Thank you.
Okay. Which I'm not sure who this one is addressed to. I guess Mayor Eva, why another Dollar General? We have too many in this area.
Glad to answer that. St. Andrew's Church is privately owned. The property as it stands is zoned for business. As a private property owner that's zoned for business, they are able to sell and develop that property as they choose. The Dollar General that will be located there will look like a lot different than the other Dollar Generals. We have looked at the renderings. We have asked them to deviate from the other Dollar Generals by adding fresh fruits and vegetables to their store. And as I said, as a private property owner, somebody approaches them and says, "Hey, we'd like to buy the property and go in." We don't control who private property owners can sell to.
Mr. Morris?
Record that I am one of the many council people that have opposed that Dollar General there, because along with Dollar General comes in crime. That is reported throughout the nation. Every place you see a Dollar General has problems. A lot of them are junk shops. That's not my words. Look it up on the internet. They attract a criminal element. They pay very low wages to even their managers and assistant managers. Could the city have stopped it? They can't with the ordinances that are in place, but we could have put a moratorium on dollar stores like we did do to stop it when it first came up to an idea. So yes, I don't think we need any more dollar stores. That's just a waste. It's a shame. And as somebody else said, if people don't like it, they won't patronize it. Well, then we'll end up with another empty building. That's just what we need. We can put another smoke shop in there or a gaming store. How about that? Thank you.
Would you please pass the mic down to the, let's let the council people respond to this question. Mr. Chabot? About the dollar store,
Yes.
Dollar General?
What the mayor has said is absolutely correct. We have no choice who private property, who they sell to. If I had a choice, it wouldn't be Dollar General, but we don't. We're technically selling it, or the property's being sold to MSP Properties. They build retail buildings and then in turn lease it to a retailer. So this store is not going to look like a Dollar General store, and the sign out front is going to be white and black and not yellow. And that's where the best that we could do was try to control exactly how the building looked.
Thanks. I guess I'd have to say that a Dollar General and any other clothing is still a Dollar General, unfortunately. You're right in that we needed to make a priority to update our city ordinances, as you mentioned, except that that isn't something that's really been done. And as we've worked toward a moratorium on big box discount stores, which we had for a temporary period of time and then were unable to have apply to this current Dollar General project, it's still something we ought to look at, because without a comprehensive municipal plan for business development, what's to stop the fourth Dollar General from going in? I'm not saying that that would happen, but there's nothing to prevent it from happening, which is why I think we need to look at what kind of businesses do we want, what would we prefer not to see, and work off of a plan instead of responding in a very reactive fashion to every vendor and every developer who comes by with a wish for any of our properties. We can sort of court, as you will, the businesses that we'd like to see here once they discover what we'd like to have here and what's not welcome here. Thank you.
So we've talked about Dollar General, Crane's property, and Blindstone. The big issue is housing and businesses. We did have opportunity by City Council, current members, to stop Dollar General. It didn't happen. The full story with MSP is they're going to take the other 3 acres and build high-density apartments behind Dollar General. Also, along with that, the mayor's intent is to take the professional building as you enter Munson into Mentor-on-the-Lake and make those high-density buildings. We don't need more high-density. We need income and taxation of income and property values being utilized by city property turned into businesses. Blindstone wanted to expand, weren't allowed. That's income that we lost to our tax base. Big box stores, 1.6 acres. There's 5 from here, from Wycliffe to Menor Headlands. 5. Do we really need another one? We have 9 properties that are owned by the city. 10 acres are deeded. 2 years left on a projected agreement with Lake Metro Parks. There's 10 acres over there on Marine Parkway. There's 10 acres at McMinn. There's 9 private properties that are still open for businesses. That's all we have left in the city to grow and facilitate proper growth of the city for the future. Thank you.
I personally think it's easy to discuss what we don't want, but that's it's even easier when you don't come up with an additional solution. One idea I would have is finding ways to attract businesses that the community does want. One idea might be to provide net profit tax credits to a business that moves in for a certain number of years. The city would still collect on the withholdings from the employees that work there. So it would allow businesses that might be more desirable to those of us here in Mentor-on-the-Lake to come in and establish themselves over the course of 2 or 3 years while we still collect on revenues.
Okay, thank you. Here is a question that I'd like everybody to respond to, and Mr. Moon, you can start and we can pass the mic down this way. The question is, in your opinion, what is the greatest safety issue facing the community, and what can be done to address this issue? Mr. Moon?
I believe the greatest safety issue is the park that's recently been discussed. It's eroding away, and anyone that goes to the park to watch the sunset every evening, there is a chance that they could fall off the edge there. We've got it all roped off, and I think that's being addressed right now with this project coming up, issue 5, and I think that would be the best thing for us to focus on.
Biggest issue in safety would have to be our safety forces. Currently, we are full staff with police, but our fire department is not full staffed. If I stand correct, I believe when I moved here, we had 32 part-timers working on 5 full-time staff. We currently want to increase full-time to 6 And last I heard, we were down to 16 part-timers, maybe 12. That's a bigger safety issue than Lake Erie. We can't control Mother Nature, but we can control fiscal responsibility with leadership and understanding of rank and file and understanding human nature. People do want to work here, but if they're not going to listen from top to bottom, they're not going to stick around. There's a bigger issue with safety in the EMS and fire branch, in my opinion, with the lack of support that's needed for them. They tried to increase your taxes. The financial committee turned it down. The fire chief came to the finance committee, didn't even bother coming to it. Sent them a memo wanting nozzles and mattresses. To me, that is a budgetary maintenance issue. That is not to come to the taxpayers wanting to double your taxes from 1.1 mil to 2.0 millage. Thank you.
In addition to the park, which I agree with Jason, is a safety issue. From what I've heard talking with residents in the ward, again, another way that I can prove myself responsive to residents is to talk to them and ask them what things are bothering them, is the issue of increased traffic and speeding through the streets of our city. Our city is a residential city. Other than the business corridor on Andrews, for which the speed limit is because of the number of driveways and the amount of traffic is understandably low, there's really no street in the city that ought to have a speed limit that's greater than 25 miles an hour. We are a residential city. We do have more problems on the through streets, through Lakeshore, along Salida, even on Thunderbird and the other sort of through streets that go between Lakeshore and Salida, and through my ward, through Ward 1. Residents have asked for traffic speed limit signage, for the speed cameras and other things. We did have a discussion in a city council meeting about the solar-powered blinking speed limit sign at the Munson city limits that we can't afford. But these are some things that the residents want to see. And so there's some voices I think we need to listen to.
They've come up with some very good points. Lake Overlook Park is very important. But I do want to point out we have added additional full-time fire and police department, but we have done it within the budget. The charter amendments cover this. We're not going out and asking for additional funding for that. As far as part-timers are concerned, it's very difficult to hire part-time right now. Firemen and policemen, people out there are not interested in this. This is the reason one of the reasons that we wanted to increase the full-timers. Somebody talked about moratorium on dollar stores. We have passed the moratorium. We are only allowing 3 dollar stores in this town. We have passed that. The second thing is the apartments behind Dollar General. It is not zoned for apartments. And so therefore the apartments cannot be built, period.
With this being a question about safety, I won't address apartments. What I will address is everyone here has made very sound statements. The park is important. The fire department's important. Speeders are important, as opposed to spiders. But I have to stand there with Mr. Gray about the fire department. Having been a retiree of 38 plus years on the fire department, I know for a fact there's not enough training being done. I know for a fact people are shunning our fire department that are trained because of that. I have spoken to them personally. I still have a lot of contacts in the fire service in Lake County. They don't want to come here because they're concerned about the safety. We have a lot of good people on our fire department. They're good EMTs, good paramedics, but without the training in the fire side, something's going to happen. I was saddened because a lot of the fires that have happened in the last 2 or 3 years resulted in a total of the structure. That's rare, and it shouldn't happen. These guys need more training. They need better direction. Thank you.
I'd just like to address the staffing issues. As we've looked at it over the last several years, we do have good, solid, part-time police and fire personnel. What has happened is when you look at the academies for police and fire, there are not a lot of candidates or individuals that want to get into the police and fire profession at this point. We've had to go away from the part-time models and go more for the full-time models, where we have, as been mentioned, we have a full-time staff now in the police department and also in the communications department. With the fire department, we'll have 2 full-time firefighter paramedics on each shift, along with the fire chief. As far as the recent fires in the cities, structure fires, they have training. These guys have training. They know what they're doing. In some cases, these structures, are total losses, as we know. And we get out there in a matter of 3-4 minutes and try to maintain and try to at least save some of the structures. Thank you.
So, Mary Eva, since you have the microphone, I have a question for you regarding these drawings. In the drawing of the Lake Overlook Park, I do not see water access. Someone's asking, is that correct? And would water access, which previously existed, be eliminated? Mary Eva, you'll have a chance to respond to that, and Mr. Morris, you'll have a chance to rebut if you wish.
Sure. Yes, in the renderings, and what you see is the fact that we cannot, at this point, provide access to the water. The beach is sporadic. Some days there's a beach, some days there's not. And if you look at what's there now, there are stairs and a deck. The stairs and the deck under Mayor Rogers were put in there, which cost approximately $250,000. We cannot spend any money, and probably more than $250,000 at this point, to have access to the water. As the renderings state, the revetment project, the Armor Stone, will go all the way up to save the bluff and save the park. We cannot risk losing any more of the park. We have playground equipment, we have picnic areas, and at this point, this is the best solution as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Mr. Morris?
Yes, I did some research a couple years back and found out that we had just missed applying for state grants to do this revetment. I can't remember if the grants were matching funds or total outright grants, which would have prevented us from having to go through this. I also did some research about, is it possible to put a pier out from this beach? And the state said yes. They're very familiar with our park. And with that being said, they said if it depends on where it's located, that would help the lake regenerate the beach area. So it is possible to get the beach back. And it's possible to do it without tax dollars, our tax dollars. With that being said, I also asked about other facilities to be able to put at the park. There's a ton of grants out there, or at least there were, but I'm not allowed to apply for a grant. But I did bring these up to the administration at one point in a council meeting, that these grants are available. We should be taking advantage of them, but we do have to do the revetment first. I just don't believe it's going to take $1.2 million to do it. I did receive a letter, as I believe my fellow councilman did tonight, that it was generated as a ballpark estimate to be about $600,000 to $700,000 to do this revetment. I didn't see if that included beach access. However, it's a heck of a lot different than $1.2 million. Thank you.
Let's pass the microphone along. I'd like to hear what the city council candidates think about this.
I saw that email this evening and I quickly looked at it. And granted, it showed a little over $600,000, but that was only for the stone revetment. It doesn't cover the cost of doing all this. The other thing is, we get an email from our fire chief every month, and there's always training classes that shows, he reports exactly how many fires or how many calls and what training classes that these people have gone, that our firemen have gone on. So it sounds to me like they're getting training.
Thank you. Unfortunately, before we lost the access, we had access to the water. This is the last remaining lakefront property we have. We don't own Menor Beach Park. The city of Menor does. So until a time comes when we could get our hands on that park for whatever that would cost, this is what we have as Overlook Park. It's our park. It resides entirely within Ward 1. That doesn't mean it belongs to Ward 1. It belongs to everybody in Menor Lake. For those of us who don't live immediately on the lakefront, it could be the only place you can go down and actually get to the lake within our city limits. This needs to be preserved, or at least a good faith effort to find out, is this what the residents want, and what would it cost to make that happen, should be done before we just outright say we can't do it. I think if the residents want it, they deserve to understand how much that might cost and what the possible options are before we take it off the table.
So we have a bid from CT Consultants for Loba at $1.2 million. I would hope the residents here tonight, public watching, would understand Lake Erie Bluff's rental property off of Perry Township, $1.2 million got them a 3/4 of a year rental unit for income, a staircase, revampment, and beach access. Painesville Township's pier, $1.9 million. I think we're jumping the gun. Yes, we need to save it. I don't deny that. I've been harping since 2018. Letters, calls to state legislatures, Joyce, Troy. So I'm not elected. I can't do much about that. But I have brought it to the attention to council. And not much has been done since then.
Well, I won't sit up here and pretend to be an engineer of any sort and know what causes erosion and what doesn't, but I would have to think that a structure like that is incredibly important. Knowing some individuals that live on the lake, and they've had to put in something very similar. I'm sure plenty of you live on the lake, those of you on Salida. One thing I'd like to say is it's wonderful to live in a small city, and it's one thing to pay taxes to the federal government and to the state, hoping that we get a little bit of those dollars. But when you live in a small city like Menor on the Lake, I have been happy to pay more taxes because it is a small city and we get to see the benefits of those tax dollars. So I'm happy to pay additional taxes, and I'm going to be even happier to be part of the budgetary process to play a role in how those dollars are spent.
You could, if you could pass the microphone down to Mr. Morris, please. I have a question for him. Mr. Morris, do you support issues 6, 7, and 8? And also, there's a two-part question. Since you have a firefighting background, what is your plan for the future for the fire department?
Yes, sir. I do support 6, 7, and 8. However, I'm only one resident. And should those issues fail, we've got a problem. As far as the future of the fire department, I think we should up the ante for our part-time employees. Don't pay them the basement level things that is going on. Try to up it a little bit. Give them something else that they can latch onto, such as possibly a pension system, if that's possible, or hospitalization. Because a lot of the people on these services are also working 2 and 3 other part-time fire and police jobs. They're looking for that full-time ride. Doesn't mean we have to provide it. I know other cities that are comparable size, they're not hiring more full-timers. They up the ante a little bit to try to get these people and keep them. Those are precious ones. They're the ones that we need to latch onto and keep. And I have talked to the officers, the part-time officers on our department, about the training that doesn't go on. Because I told them if I'm elected mayor, along with that comes the safety director. They will train, and they applaud that. They want it. Because being in a fire as some of the people here know, can be one of the scariest things you ever went through, even as a firefighter. And the idea is that training takes a lot of that fear out. Thank you.
On.
We negotiated the part-time firefighter contract. Our part-time firefighters received a 9% pay increase, and there was no disputing that, 9%, which is well above what we've been given to our full-time or other employees in the city. As Mr. Shabu said, and as I'll reinforce, every month we get a report. All of council members, I get a report on what training takes place. And there is training that goes on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Could you pass the microphone to Mr. Chabu? Did everybody, I'd like to hear everybody's opinion on issues 6, 7, and 8. Would you support those? I
The
assume
charter
you do.
amendments, absolutely. We need the charter amendments to continue the standard of excellence that we have in those 3 departments. And anyone out there knows that every year it's salaries, and we probably need a truck. We need these charter amendments to cover that.
Unfortunately, the charter amendments are the way we pay our forces, and so it's kind of hard to argue that we don't want police and fire. So we do need to renew those. However, that's partly, and I know this is not a 6, 7, and 8 issue, but that's partly why I think we need to think very carefully about what we're doing about the park tax, because it's a lot of taxes we're talking about. And if we're going to spend taxpayer dollars, we just want to make sure that we're getting what everybody wants for it. We want police, we want fire, but we want our water access also.
6, 7, 8. Again, I resound what Ms. Wong said, Dr. Wong said. We do need the safety forces. At a council meeting, when Mr. Chief Pachenko presented himself to increase the millage, wasn't sure what he needed from council before the finance committee. I asked a question to council. There is another levy which we're all paying for, 4.5 millage, which encompasses both fire, EMS, and police. No one could answer the question, who gets what, when they get what. Currently on tomorrow's agenda, the fire chief of police wants a second car, which he haven't received the first car yet, a taxpayer's base of $63,000, I believe. But we have a surplus of $1 million? Something 1 + 1 = 2, but we got $1 million now. How can we be going after 110, 140, 170,000 that these are supposed to generate? That's 300,000. Take that million, drop it down 300,000. We don't need to charter amendments anymore. Now we have 700,000 now surplus.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe there was good reason for the second police car, and that was because of the lack of supply of vehicles due to strikes and other things happening in the country that make it more difficult. So the idea was that this vehicle was going to cost more if we waited an additional year or two. So ultimately, in the end, it was about planning ahead and making sure that we had the vehicles that we needed when we needed them at the best price. Moving on to issue 6, 7, and 8, I think I've sort of answered that already in that I happily vote for tax increases when they're at the municipal level. I love to see my city getting better. I love to invest in my city. I know I've only been here 5 years, but I've fallen in love with it over time, and that's why I'm here today.
Okay, I'd like to start with you, Mr. Moon, down there, and then pass the microphone down here. I'd like everybody to answer this question. What do you believe is the city's greatest infrastructure need, and how would the resolution of that issue be approached?
I think that is issue 8 with the levy for the streets. I think the issue would be flooding, perhaps. When we get heavy rains, I do see a lot of buildup of water, and if that can be solved by the $1.2 million raise with issue 8, that would be top priority for me. Did that answer the question?
Okay.
So since Mr. Moon is my candidate for Ward 2, flooding has been an issue here since I've been here in 18 years. 2006, we had a flood, went to council, did my research. There's actually an ordinance on our books from 1957, which is called the Spring Ditching Program. The mayor is obligated with the city engineer and the service department to ditch our streets every year. I don't have a backhoe to ditch my ditch, nor does the majority of the residents on this side of Andrews. Now, years later, I've requested and got permission finally at the city's doing to put a pipe across my ditch so it's covered so I don't see water anymore. I ask you here tonight, for infrastructure purposes only, it cost me $1,000 to put a pipe across my yard. Are you residents willing to pay $1 million for each street in Compton and increasing each year when a simple solution is the mayor maintains and the safety director, service director maintains the ditches and goes to the resident and the onus be on them to fix the ditch with the city's help versus encompassing everybody in the city to pay on a loan for $1 million, 10, 15 years for each city? Because we're still paying on Andrews. We're still paying on Lake. Probably still paying on Miami. Probably still paying on Pinehurst. And probably missed another street in there too since I've been here.
I'm not sure I can comment on what I think is the most important or pressing infrastructure issue to city residents, and that would be something I'd be welcome to hear from city residents as to what they believe we ought to place our emphasis on in the coming 4 years. But certainly the levy that we have in front of us for supporting road construction and road repair can be put to good use. There have been some complaints about just that, including some fairly frank questions like, why don't you people fix the roads? And obviously, that's what this is all about. We need the money in order to fix the roads and in order to partner with other municipalities like Mentor in order to get the money that's needed to fix the roads. So that's certainly an infrastructure issue that is important that I think will be addressed if we have the levy money for that. Other than that, again, I think it's really the park, only because loss of that bluff and loss of the land there, I think that counts as city infrastructure. It's actually city property.
I have to agree with her about the park, but I also believe that we are working every few years and putting in storm drains for each street. This year, 2024, will be Southland. And I know the mayor knows what's next on the list. But each street eventually should have storm drains. And we put out bids through Mentor to have this project done. So yeah, what we are getting is probably the best price that we can ever get. So I'm not understanding. He said he put $1,000. I doubt if that would be practical. I'm sure it costs more than that.
As far as infrastructure goes, a lot of people have said what I also believe. Flooding is a big issue in our city. However, Mr. Gray hit upon it. There is an ordinance that states that there is supposed to be a ditching program in our city. I'd asked the mayor at one point if we could have the service department go down through and check several of the streets that have the most severe flooding problems, like Southland, like Dahlia, and check the size of culverts, check the grade of the ditches, and make sure that they are flowing the way they should. Because a lot of times, I've been out multiple times in these storms to try to check and see if everybody's okay or if everybody's flooded. I have to tell you that the last big storm, where it wiped out a lot of trees on Salida, I tried to go down Salida, even though it's not my ward, and I just couldn't do it. It wasn't safe. But was very pleased that there were a lot of people out with their chainsaws trying to clear some of the streets, their own driveways and so forth. God bless them. I just hope they made sure that there were no live wires in those areas, because we don't need any more victims. But if we did this ditching program, which used to be done years ago, I do remember when the service department used to go out and clean the ditches out. They'd regrade them and so forth so that water flowed better. Perhaps if we did that, some of these people wouldn't be stuck with their homes being flooded like they do. It's just a temporary stopgap until we can get the storm sewers properly taken care of.
Since I was on city council, and I still continue to believe the drainage, improving our infrastructure through storm sewer projects is the way to go. As Mr. Morris said, we have our service department out cleaning ditches, cleaning the storm sewers. What happens is our residents don't clean their own ditches, and that's what causes the backup there. As I mentioned, Southland will be the next storm sewer project. It is right around $1 million is the estimate. We're looking at no interest and grants to take care of Southland. Next on the list would be Mr. Gray's Street on Dahlia. We're not going in order, but we're looking at what needs it the most. So after Southland would be Dahlia, and then we would look at that. We have engineering costs, and we build up stormwater sewer incentives that allows us to get these grants and low interest loans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For our final question, I'd like also to go down the line for everybody, starting with Mayor Eva. What type of businesses would you like to see come into our city to benefit our residents, and what steps would be taken to achieve this? Types of businesses.
I know we've recently had a new restaurant, a new urgent care. We have a new pet store, so we are diversifying. I would like to see potentially more family restaurants with possibly other recreation facilities. I did have a conversation a couple months ago. We had talked about property on Andrews Road, maybe looking at a indoor sports facility similar to Lost Nation Park, where you could go in, play basketball, play volleyball, and just have indoor sports there. The problem being, looking for parking along there. But I would like to see a diversified amount of businesses come in. Again, I cannot dictate what goes into some of, let's say, the Marks Plaza. Mr. Andrews owns that, USA Management. I can't tell him what he can put in there. I can't, we can talk to developers, which I do on a periodic basis, and, suggest certain things. As far as the Munson Road Professional Center, I know Council President Johnson and Vice President Mrs. Moore, we've had conversations with the individual that owns that property, and there's been nothing as far as high density or low density apartments that have even been mentioned for there. Thank you.
All right. I'm an advocate of all kinds of diversified businesses in our city. The one thing that, because I think somebody else said it tonight, we have lake in our name. We should be an entertainment area at this north end of our city. And I've had many people tell me, well, nobody's going to come there because it's not a 4-lane highway. Well, wait a minute. Think about something. Brennan's is a very popular fish restaurant, seafood restaurant, as is Pickle Bill's. They're packed, and they're in the middle of nowhere. Blazing Bill's down in Burton is in a cow pasture. I don't know whether that's because they have their inventory behind them or what, but they attract a lot of people. Can we do something like that here? Why not? That's what that church should have been, not this Dollar General stuff. So there's a lot of things that could be done. I put my money where my mouth is. Years ago, 8 years ago, I started a car show. You may have heard of it. It's one of the biggest car shows in Lake County, here in Little Mentor on the Lake. It's called Roar by the Shore. Now, yes, I do that with the cooperation of the city, but it is not a city-run event. It's me, my son, and my wife, and a whole bunch of volunteers, including our council president, Rob Johnson. He's been very helpful for that. So we did that, from my perspective, to draw attention, positive attention to our city and the businesses in it. Well, this year, if you didn't follow the news, we got bounced out of Mentor Beach Park, as Mentor had bounced some other organization out of their amphitheater area recently. So we ended up, with Dave Eva's permission, held the event up at City Hall, okay? I have actually had input from businesses that want us to keep it there. We did that because our residents want us to keep it there. So with that being said, we did, and the businesses now want us to expand it. So yes,
I think we can attract a lot of businesses. We just have to keep the positive light going. That's important. That comprehensive plan is all part of it. That will help us attract the right places.
I agree. I would like a diversity of businesses, family restaurants, even that sports center would be great. So whatever comes in, I know Mayor Eva and even myself have gone out and tried to talk to businesses. This is how you get them to come in.
I think in order to attract businesses that we want, as you said, it's easier to say what you don't want than it is to say what you want. Again, I think we need a comprehensive plan stating what our city vision is, what we want our business area and what our downtown area, as it were, to look like. I'm about capitalizing on our proximity to the lake. I mean, if you look at other sort of lakefront or waterfront communities that are kitschy, that are quaint, that have an attraction for visitors out of town as well as the visitors who are in town, to walk down toward the lakefront or, you know, out onto the business area and sit down for a cup of coffee, a cafe, small retail, souvenirs, gifts, you know, kite and toy shops. You can fly them in the park across the street. Beauty, retail clothing. I mean, other things that we don't see. And then, of course, yes, dine in and eat in restaurants that draw people out of the neighborhoods and out toward our lakefront community. So those are the kinds of things I think that we could attract, but we don't have to do all the heavy lifting. If we present a comprehensive plan that shows folks what we're looking for, the hope is that we'd actually attract those entrepreneurs, attract those businesses, attract those vendors and say, hey, we can turn this place. Once we have a critical mass of those types of businesses, we have a kitschy little business district.
Councilman Morris has been on a committee that's been called the Community Development Committee. Over the last 2 years, with the help of citizens, myself, and people in the audience tonight, we have formulated a plan to which the mayor wouldn't pay for it because we're broke and can't pay $42,000 to implement a comprehensive plan. City Council has more or less done their job and presented an RFP which will initiate the process of going forward to initiate a comprehensive plan. You don't have a future unless we all have a say in the plan of the future. We can't landlock ourselves nickel and dime pieces. We lost Taco Bell, we don't get Swanson's, but we get a Chipotle. But you just disenfranchised a stellar community business entrepreneur that's been here. I can't understand why Burger King won't allow him to buy the place, but he wants to expand and grow. Blystone wants to expand and grow. Tongue in cheek, you can't say you want to grow business, but you deny business.
So I believe the question is, what do we want to see here, and how would we make that happen? I agree that a cafe or a coffee house would be incredible for those of us when we're staying in the city, or even if you're on your way to work. A high-end restaurant by the lake would also be amazing, and I even think a furniture store would be awesome to have in the city. You know, how do we do that? I've already alluded to the idea of attempting to come up with something where a business would get a net profit tax credit. And I believe that that's actually not going to affect us too much because, so businesses pay two types of taxes at the city. There's a net profit tax, which is what's on their income, and then also we receive employment taxes, which are the withholdings on the employees that work there. That's where the real big money is the withholdings on the employees that work there. Someone like me who doesn't work in Mentor-on-the-Lake, you don't receive any money from me for my employment taxes because we collect our taxes through the CCA, and the city of Mentor-on-the-Lake gives a 100% credit for the taxes that I pay to another city. So employees that are working within the city are what are bringing in the most revenue from a perspective of net profit and employment taxes. So if we give that net profit tax, it doesn't hurt us too much because guess what? Most businesses are really trying to bring their profits close to zero anyway, especially in the first couple of years. So if the credit's early on, we're not losing much, but when they employ people in our city, we're collecting on those taxes. I think that also in order to bring these businesses in, we're going to need a great police department and fire department. So I think it's, again, important to vote on issue 6 and 7 because they're going to want to know that their business is protected with both police and fire. And then last, you know, the Parks and Recreation project here is another important part as well. Again, the idea of spending money on our city to make it more attractive to businesses will ultimately, in the long run, pay for itself.
Okay, thank you, lady and gentlemen, for your answers, and thank you all for coming tonight. And we're finished.